Prehistoric Zoo, Episodes 11 through 20. Episode 11: Mining for fossils. In this episode, Flames goes down in the ground, likely through an artificial tunnel by a patch of trees for fossils, and gets many things such as biofossils, plant fossils, relic scraps, bones, a bit of frozen meat, iron, gold, redstone, volcanic rock, lapis lazuli, even a few diamonds, and cobblestone. Then the episode randomly ends. Episode 12: A lot of fossil item outcomes. Part 1. This episode starts with Flames standing in his headquarters telling the viewer what he got and showing some of it. He then goes outside and shows that he has built a wall on one side of his right hall and some around his headquarters area. He goes down to Thog Creek to find that there is a sign in all caps saying that whoever put up a prank sign mocking the Supreme Arch Executive's name, it was Flames, must report to SAOBBB immediately. Also, there is a post with a chest in it saying, "The Weekly Prophet, grab one. Any and everybody grab one for yourself." He then says good morning to Unorganized and walks back out to see 6 different new signs on Unorganized's house. The top 2 are in an unidentified language along with the left middle one, the left bottom one being in 2 unknown languages, the middle right one saying, "The Revenge of Arak belongs to A6," and the bottom right one saying Earn 2, and the rest in a different language. Episode 12: A lot of fossil item outcomes. Part 2. In this episode, Flames goes and sees that much ground has been cleared in Thog Creek and the new buildings, which are places for the builders, are finished. He meets the 4 builders from the Savannah, Jai, Gila, Kondo, and Kalavu before he goes and collects items from his analyzer. Among these items are some Allosaurus DNA, a pottery shard, and some bone meal. Episode 13: Hook Claw. Part 1.5 has pacing fever since he continuously sprints around the inside of his house, though this might have happened before. Episode 13: Hook Claw. Part 2. Somewhere in this time much progress gets done on the zoo. Episode 13: Hook Claw. Part 3. Flames gets a velociraptor named Hook Claw who is born in an enclosure on the right side of the right hall of the zoo, being very close to the front of the structure. The cobblestone cage is 6 meters across on one side and likely 9 on the other, with grass instead of a floor and a feeder in the back left corner. Episode 14: Stripe. Part 1. Flames starts to build the cage for the Brachiosaurus, which is on the opposite end of the right/north hall of Prehistoric Zoo, being very close to his headquarters at the end. The enclosure is larger as well, being 20 meters in length, 9 meters in width, and 14 meters in height. Episode 14: Stripe. Part 2. Flames builds more of the cage, which is a combination of cobblestone with iron bars, before he reads the Weekly Prophet, and sees the new set of houses has been complete in Thog Creek for 4 new people, Melon telling Laltus and to move in. Episode 14: Stripe. Part 3. In this episode, Flames goes down to the village, where he notices that they have added new guards, who are named Bill and Fred, along with the guardhouse. A table has been set up behind Priest Paul's house for the Thanksgiving banquet, which Flames sees before he goes back and works on the cage for the Brachiosaurus. Please note that custom NPCs was added in the making of this episode, so all the characters are now custom NPCs and they are much more realistic and detailed, plus lots of new items from custom NPCs were added to the world, making it much better and advanced, with speech lines, some of them, like the builders trading, animations of the characters holding things, new skins, titles and subtitles that can be seen without having a crosshair being pointed at them, certain ranges that they can walk in, or not walk in, more actions of attacking monsters, with many more items. Episode 14: Stripe. Part 4. In this episode, Flames wakes up and shows that apart from the cages, the zoo is about 90% done when he realizes that it's Thanksgiving that day and that he's late for the banquet. He hurries there where he eats and drinks at the banquet until night, which he skips to when he meets the new guards, George and Quoosh. and goes back to the zoo to sleep. In the morning, Flames puts his Brachiosaurus DNA in the culture vat and gets an egg. He then goes to the cage and hatches the Brachiosaurus, and names him Stripe due to the blue stripes on his body. Episode 15: Unorganized Work. In this episode, Flames goes to the village where he sees the new hireable people and reads the latest weekly prophet when his recorder cuts out. Episode 16: Flames' 18th birthday. In this episode, it is Flames' birthday when he turns 18. He shows how he has expanded the headquarters' top floor by 1 block and how he got a cow so that way he can easily acquire buckets of milk for his culture vet, who at some point is named Charles. Then he goes to Thog Creek where the villagers have done more building and put up more decorations. Flames then goes to Adhath's house where there is a surprise party thing with fireworks, cake, and presents. The two of them eat cake and Flames gets a bunch of DNA, an emerald broadsword, an enchantment table, a necklace, a note from his father, and a Tyrannosaurus tooth labeled Brachiosaurus. All the non-DNA things belonged to his parents. The note contained within a book simply says, "Key to body before the black stops," and when Flames asks Adhath what that means, Adhath just says he doesn't know, but if his father said it to him then it would surely be important and mean something in the future. Then Flames goes home for the night rather late, where he encounters an Enderman and a witch. Episode 17: The Ship. In this episode, Flames wants to find more glowstone, so he goes into the Nether through a portal on the ground floor level of Prehistoric Zoo's headquarters and collects a bunch of it. Then he decides to explore a bit. He's going along normally when he sees a ship floating in the lava. It is about 25 blocks long and 8 meters across, with 2 obsidian masts which lack sails and a statue pointing a hand forwards in the center. Flames goes inside to find about 30 double-sized chests that are all empty. He goes back and talks to Adhath about it, but he doesn't know what it is. Then the next day, Flames makes the gardens for the zoo, which are the closest exhibit to the entrance on the southern hall of the zoo. Episode 18: Redsmark, Part 1. In this less than a minute long episode, Flames says he has built the cages for the Spinosaurus and Mammoth and that he's hatching the Spinosaurus first when beep 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 beep. The evil annoying ear-hurting timer goes off. Episode 18: Redsmark, Part 2. In this episode, Flames hatches a Spinosaurus in a large enclosure on the south hall in the desert biome and names it Redsmark because of a random red mark on its snout. He also explains how after this he's going to take a break until after later and that he wants Prehistoric Zoo to be open by the end of February. Episode 19: Mammoth. In this episode, Flames shows all the presents he got from Adhath before he then goes to Thog Creek and sees the new buildings there. He hires one of the hireables whose name is Leko, and then gets a female mammoth which he names Mammoth, who is located in the last cage on the left side of the zoo. Episode 20: Tear Dawn. In this episode, Flames goes to Thog Creek and sees the Singing Ocelot. A wooden restaurant is crowded, has an owner named Jokal, and has a bar named Balag. He then goes and hatches his Pteranodon, Tear Dawn, in the largest enclosure of the zoo, which is a great cobblestone room with fence posts located inside.